Hi, my friend. This is the last episode of our 4-part series with my friend, Lauren Cobello. I hope you're having a beautiful day today, and I hope that you're ready to learn because we are talking all about some really key elements of creating your PR strategy, leveraging it for speaking and book launches, and how it integrates with your podcast so that you can elevate that one step further. So today we are talking all about how to use PR and book speaking engagements and brand deals to make you more money within your business, within your creator lifestyle, within whatever it is that you touch. So we're covering where to start, how and why and when to write and distribute a press release. We're talking about how to start finding speaking gigs and what are the key aspects of getting brand deals. You're not going to want to miss this conversation because it is completely packed with so many amazing tips that you can take. We're at the start of the year, and this is when a lot of our marketing efforts and initiatives are first starting to get planned and coming to fruition. Maybe you've done some planning in 2023 or the year prior, and you are wanting to elevate that one step further this year. So you can definitely do that with our 4-part series. You're going to love this conversation today. Lauren is the founder and CEO of Leverage with Media PR, a renowned national TV personality, 3-time best-selling author, and a prominent figure in the world of entrepreneurship and public relations. She's been a regular lifestyle TV personality on national TV for shows like The Today Show, Good Morning America, Rachel Ray, and Dr. Oz, among many others over the last decade. So get yourself ready to dive into our conversation today with the incredible Lauren. Be sure to connect with us. Let us know what you love, what you learned. 5 stars if you're loving this content so we can reach more creators just like you. Thank you for being here today. Let's get into our conversation. Lauren, welcome back to As It Relates to Podcasting. It's our last episode together.
Yay! We made it through 3. This has been fun, though. I've really enjoyed it. It's been really great.
Me too. A lot of people will say it's kind of crazy that you block a recording block this much and then you do all the things and whatever. Can you hear that dog barking?
I do. I love it. Keep it
You
going.
do? Okay, we're going to keep going. We're just going to keep going. I have 2 downstairs and they're having the time of their life at whatever's happening at the front door. So we love that for them. But I was going to say, people might think I'm crazy for, sitting down and recording for this length of time and all of that. But honestly, I love it because we get to deep dive in the nitty gritty of so many different topics. Whereas when you sit with someone and just have a conversation for a podcast, typically it stays pretty surface level,
Mm-hmm.
and I like being able to have secrets and stuff like that people want to share. So anyway, so thanks for your time.
Yeah, of course. And, it helps with scheduling too, because it's like, just chunking out a whole big time and you can just get it done and you have a whole month done. It makes sense to me.
Exactly. Amazing. So today in our final episode together, we have talked about so many different things. We've talked about how to stand out in a crowded marketplace in terms of PR, how to build your brand, how to build your strategy using books and PR and speaking gigs together. And also we talked about why an entrepreneur should even write a book to begin with. So be sure to go back and tune into all of those episodes because there's so much gold in all of those episodes. Today, we're focusing on how to use PR to book speaking engagements and brand deals and to make more money in your business. So, Lauren, where does someone start if this is where they want to go?
Yeah. So we're talking about brand deals, speaking engagements. We can even get into spokesperson deals. Okay.
Ooh.
So yes. So I've been a spokesperson for companies like eBay and PayPal and the Flip app and TD Bank, like some of those major companies. So once you start getting some TV under your belt, you can actually kind of start putting your name in the hat for spokesperson deals. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. I mean, even just messaging them on Instagram, just letting them know that you're wondering, who they would be responsible for, finding their PR agency. That's typically who is going to be responsible for hiring their spokesperson. I worked typically directly with their PR agencies. So just kind of keep that in mind. But so let's start with how to use PR for speaking engagements. Okay. We'll start there. So basically, you want to, when you're creating your speaker reel, you want to show some examples of you speaking, but then also kind of pepper in some little clips of you on television, right? It's going to add in some boosted visibility, but also, especially if you're trying to do local speaking, include local television in that speaker reel. You can have like a local speaker reel or you can have a national one, whatever your choice is. But I would say that if you're trying to get a local speaking gig, look into writing some articles in the local newspaper that still does have a lot of pull in the local community, or online, doing the local online, newspaper or whatever. Usually they will give you like a deal to do 2 for 1 or whatever. Usually it's the same price,
Okay.
and a lot of times they'll pay you. And I used to get paid $50 a week to write a column in
It's
our local
amazing.
local paper. I mean, it was like, it was, I would just do it like once a month and then send him all the same day, and then I would get paid $200. So I would, yeah. So I would do that for local speaking engagements. For national ones, you can use platforms like eSpeakers,
Mhm.
and that's where put up a profile, and in that profile you can put your speaker reel in there, what topics you want to be talking about. I would definitely upload any kind of media that you've done, show them what you've done in the past and what kinds of things that you can talk about. I think, having a book, making sure that they know that you have books and that you are available to sell those books,
Mhm.
when you're at the event, or that you're willing to negotiate, speaker prices or things like that with your book, I think is going to be an important thing. And so I would say, keep that in mind. So for speaking engagements, I would have different prices kind of worked out. If you're going to have a flat fee, or a flat fee with book prices, or a book buy, have those prices kind of figured out beforehand. So I would definitely also search for, your city and state chamber of commerce to get started for speaking engagements, local areas like that. But also, if you're, let's say, a financial professional, search like CFP conferences, try and find those events and start applying to those types of conferences. So, for speaking engagements, that's really, you want to use your media coverage to kind of help you build your profile so that you look more attractive to the speaker seekers. And that's going to help you, in that area. So next on to brand deals is, kind of figure out what brands align with your message. So, for example, I wrote, my book was called The Recovering Spender, my last one.
Mm.
And that one, I talked about meal planning a lot, and budgeting, and debt reduction. I actually wrote some brands into my book, and that's kind of a strategy that I teach a lot of my clients when we're talking about book
Mm.
launches. Now I have sponsors to pitch for my book launch within my
Mhm.
book. So it's kind of a strategy there.
Smart.
And so I had some sponsors already in the book. So, I reached out to Aldi, some financial companies. Who else was in there? Some like survey companies like Swagbucks and Ebates, which is now Rakuten.
Yeah.
And yep, so I reached out to some like that and said, hey, I put you in my book. I would love to talk to you about potential brand deals,
Mm.
working together on social media. Let's kind of figure out a way to work together. And so through that, I would kind of talk to them about that. I've been on Good Morning America. I've been on Dr. Oz. I've been on this and that. Would love to kind of talk to you about it. And they want to align themselves with you. When you've been on media coverage, they want to align themselves with you. Now, I will say a couple things to make note of. When you start getting media traction and a lot of media attention, brands will want to align with you and start putting your name on things. Okay. I dealt with this a lot. Can I put my name on my postcards for this event because I was well known?
Mhm.
And the answer is no. Not unless you pay me a fee to use my name and likeness. So there needs to be a contract
Oh.
if people start doing this. Also, people will ask you questions like, can you share me on your next TV segment, right? If you want to do this on like local media, like who am I to say you need to talk to your local television producer, all of that. This is a huge no-no on national television.
Yeah.
Anytime a brand or a sponsor gets mentioned, the FDA needs to disclose this, and brands can get in a lot of trouble, as well as TV stations, if this relationship is not disclosed. So you cannot get paid by any brand to share their name on national television. So
Oh,
don't
wow.
think that you're going to align yourself and like say, you know what, like I'm going to go and get a deal and Apple's going to pay me $10,000 to talk about their brand on the Today Show. That, like, the Today Show won't let that happen. Like there's zero way. And I held that relationship with the Today Show 100% in utmost importance. And I would never let a brand pay me, sway me, anything like that, because I did not want to risk my reputation with any of those shows. So
Yeah.
keep that in mind, that like you can't sell, you just can't be sold. If you're going to do
Mm-hmm.
television, you need to be indebted to that show.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Okay, so when we're thinking about that, that's a lot. There's a lot of really good information in there.
Mm-hmm.
When we're thinking about using PR to book these speaking engagements and brand deals and all this different stuff, where do you begin? Because I think that, like, when you think about PR, traditionally, you would send a press release for something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But that might not always be the most effective way. So, is it just as simple as writing a pitch? You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
even if you're a smaller creator, and you're a podcaster, and maybe your audience isn't massive, but the product or the brand aligns. Like,
Mm-hmm.
would you say that makes sense?
Yeah. So I would just say you can write a pitch, but also, you know, media, I would never send a media press kit to like a media pitch out to like a journalist or anything like that anymore. People don't use them. They're just kind of dead. But I would have a press kit and a media kit, or maybe a link on your website where you can direct people to say, like, here is what I've been doing.
Yeah.
These are the podcasts I've been on. These are the TV shows I've been on. These are my books. This is my audience. A great kind of pretty one sheet or something like that that you can send people to. I wouldn't necessarily upload it. If I would do anything, I would upload it to a Google Drive and give them a link.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of spam services don't deliver emails with attachments that much anymore. And so that just from my perspective in PR, like a lot of, we don't send anything with attachments. We send everything in a Google Drive with a link now. So I would say to start with creating like a one sheet of where you have been,
Mm-hmm.
and then send a pitch. A lot of times I just go on like Instagram and I find the brands I want to work with, and I'm like,
Yeah.
who's responsible for your influencer relations? Who's responsible for this? And then you're going to use your TV exposure to boost your credibility, to like that they know about you, and then they know that like you can talk on camera, they know that you're aligned with their mission based
Mm-hmm.
on the TV and the book that you have, and you can use that to boost credibility. So a lot of times I would kind of negotiate deals off of the back of like, hey, I know I'm going to be on the Rachel Ray show, let's say February 1st. Why don't I air your live on February 4th? Because I know I'm going to be having like a lot of traffic to my socials during that time. That way you kind of get like the piggyback off of that time, and that way they know that there's going to be a little bit more traffic around that time.
I love that. That's really, really smart. And ultimately, because, okay, so the reason why I ask you this question to begin with is because a lot of creators, especially podcasters, will say, well, how do I monetize my content? How do I make money from all of this?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's quite simple, actually. Like, even though there's a lot of steps that go into it, there's a lot of things that you need to do, but the actual strategy in and of itself is pretty simple. Be so clear in your message, figure out and if it's not clear, figure out how to make your message more clear. Find those products, services, brands, other influencers, people, whatever it is that align best with what you're creating.
Mm-hmm.
Reach out to those brands, create that partnership, so on, so on. And then simultaneously leveraging the same message to getting yourself booked on different speaking engagements and adding to your brand deal so that you're maximizing the exposure on both of those sides.
Yeah, and you know what? Podcasting can go very hand in hand with writing a book, right? Is you use the same strategy for getting your podcast out there that you would writing a book. And people are doing podcast tours on
Yeah.
television now when they launch a podcast, and we get hired now by people that are launching podcasts for PR. We'll work with people that are launching podcasts instead of launching books now. So it's there's a lot of similarities there.
Yeah.
How do you get your book and your brand out there? It's the same thing as how to get your podcast out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, aligning yourself with those books and brands of how how they value you, but also taking your podcast, chopping it up in short form videos and putting it out there, and, aligning yourself with those companies and those media personalities and those other people and those speaking engagements. I mean, it can all kind of go hand in hand.
I love that. And this is something that I do as well. Like, I'm on the receiving end of a lot of pitches, right? I mean, I run a production company. We have over 30 podcasts that we're doing on a weekly basis in all kinds of different areas and different industries, right? Well, I mean, they all have like the same feel to them, but like the same, like they're all, the podcasts are not similar, but the people who do the podcasts are similar, if that makes any sense.
Right. Yep.
And so I get a lot of different pitches, and especially for my own podcast and all that, a lot of authors. And it's interesting too, especially with authors, because I've kind of felt over the last little bit that, and we're going on a tangent for a hot second, but I've found over the last little bit, especially interviewing authors, they don't talk about anything other than their book. And so if you're going to do a media tour and you're only talking about your book and you're sharing the exact same message about the exact same book on every single podcast, it's boring. And I'm like, no. So when people pitch me, I'm so specific. I ask them, I say, we'll talk about your book. We'll talk about it, throughout, or like I'll bring it up at the beginning. We'll talk about it at the end. And this is, I guess, is a good tip for podcasters if you are bringing on authors. But I always ask them to share deeper. Like, I want to talk about something different than what you've been telling everybody else. And then the flip side of that, I always ask them to share. So I know that they're wanting to come on my podcast because they're doing a podcast book tour. I totally get that. And also, if you're going to come on my podcast, I'm also going to expect that you're going to share the interview with your community, with your people. And some people will say no. And I say, okay, well, it's just not a fit then, And if the message aligns, though, I think it's important.
I think you bring up a brilliant point, which is probably why you're such a good podcast editor too, and you have such a good agency, is that because you are, when we're pitching our authors out, we're not pitching the book, right? We're pitching the thought leader as the expert to a story. And then the book is the supporting piece of the story, right? Now, there's one exception, which is Pub Week. When their week comes out, that's when we're really kind of doing like a big book pitch of like, their book is coming out this week, but this is what they can talk about surrounding the book.
Yeah.
But I think, book PR, I think traditionally it can kind of be very boring and dead when they're just pitching the book out all the time. And it's like, this is so boring, and one of the things I think that our agency does is we're like constantly what's called newsjacking, if you're familiar, right?
Yeah.
Something
my
happens,
audience may not be.
right? So newsjacking is when you take, it's a term in PR where you take something that's trending in the news today, and you become the expert in that topic, right? So let's say this is launching in January. So let's say you're a health and wellness coach, and there's a new supplement that comes out in January that is destroying people's gut health, and you are a gut health expert. You need to like figure out some talking points in a way that you can help people avoid this new drug that's going to kill their gut, because that it's going to kill their gut. So what is a pitch that you can come up with super fast? I'm talking like same day, that you can come up with and get out to your journalist friends and reporter friends. And then you talk about your book in the segment. This is what we're doing all day long. Like my publicist and my team, like we're literally all day long newsjacking. What can we do for our clients? How can we get them in the media? We're not just like pitching a book out to PRs and podcasters and all day long. We're constantly on the move and changing and evolving and pitching, and how do we revamp it? And you make a great point when talking about getting pitches from publicists, is they're doing it wrong, in my opinion. But also as a podcast host, you're doing it right by saying, no, I don't want to just talk about a book. Like, we need to talk about something that's relevant and important. So as podcasts hosts that are listening to this, like, you need to dig deeper into why that book was written, because there is a story down there. Right?
Exactly.
And as an author writing a book, that's what you should be talking about. You should be talking about the why behind why you wrote the book, how it's going to change people's lives, not the book, because the book, nobody's going to buy a book. They're going to buy the transformation that the book
Exactly.
offers.
I
So
love
talk
that.
about the transformation.
I love that. I think that's so key to remember. And just on the topic of receiving pitches, some things that I really like are when people draw a parallel from whatever my, podcast episode, and it doesn't even have to, I prefer when it's not a recent podcast episode, because then that means you actually took the time to go back. And even if you didn't actually listen to the episode, like you're saying you did, because people don't always, and that's fine, but you went back and you went through my content to find something that was relevant enough for your client. I like that. And then I
Mm-hmm.
also like when people will send me, you know, this is the book, this is what it is. And also, here are some additional topics that we can talk about. Like, I like receiving that because it makes me think
Mm-hmm.
about, okay, what kind of story can we create? What kind of message could we be sharing? How could I go deeper with these topics? Have I talked about any of this on my podcast before? And how do I make their time on my show feel special? And I think that's up to every creator to make sure that whoever you have on your podcast, you are making them feel special while
Mm-hmm.
they're there. It's their time slot, it's their time to shine, right? So I think that's super super key. So I really like that
Yep.
you added that in there.
Yeah. I think it's super important to anybody who's pitching or receiving pitches.
Mm-hmm.
But even as an author, you're responsible for showing up and providing a good story. You need to know that people don't want, if you're just like the book, the book, the book, the book, they're going to be sick of the book by the end of the time they get through the
Yeah.
interview. Like, I don't want to listen about this book anymore. Like, they want to hear your story. Why did you write it? Like, that's what people
Exactly.
want. Right. And when
Exactly.
we're pitching stories to the media, that's what we're pitching. We're pitching the heartfelt stories. We're
Mm-hmm.
pitching, the person wrote this book because they were overweight and they were made fun of because they were overweight and bullied, and they did this diet thing and it changed their life, and this is how they help other people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the story.
I love that. Lauren, thank you so much for joining me for 4
Thank you.
episodes on my podcast. We made
Yes,
it.
we
Is
made it.
we made it. Is there anything you would like to add before we wrap up today's episode? Anything you think we may have missed, or any advice for creators looking to get into this space?
Yeah, I don't know. We covered so much in the
I
past 4
know.
episodes. We covered so much. I would just say that, I think that that really, everybody has a story to tell. I feel like
Yeah.
everybody's always like, I've got a book in me. And it's so hard to find that one story, but to resonate with what you're teaching and what you want the journey of your clients and your readers to take, pull that story out of you. And that's really what the book is going to be. And we can always use AI to assist in that
Mm-hmm.
process, but don't have AI write the entire thing, because it's gonna take the personality out of it. So AI can always assist us in the process. I'm actually using it in my 4th book to assist in the process of the editing and all of that kind of stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think that really the beauty of writing the book is the strategy,
Yeah.
because you don't want to spend a whole year doing something and then like not have it work and
Yeah.
like have it flop. So like, please just have everybody take some time to like think it through and strategize how it's going to help the business grow.
Mm-hmm.
And it will work. I do it every day, all day, if
Mm-hmm.
people take the time to sit down and strategize.
I love that you've said that, because, and I'll end with this thought here too. AI is amazing. We see it a lot in the podcast production space. A lot of people will go through and they'll say, oh, I'm going to create a whole podcast just using AI. It's going to be an AI voice, AI script, AI this, AI that. That's great. But at the end of the day, actually, I don't think that's great. I don't think that's really a podcast. I think a podcast should be a human being, but that's fine. Whatever. That's not here nor there. And that's not a conversation for
Mm-hmm.
today. But the one thing that AI can't do is execute on your strategy. So you can leverage AI to help and assist in all these different pieces, everything that you were saying about the book process. Same with the podcast production process. If you want to run your episode through and get AI to do all of it for you, it can. But AI cannot create, it can create a strategy, but it cannot execute on a strategy.
Yep.
And, you can leverage AI to ask you for help in terms of a strategy, but that's still a computer telling you a strategy. There's so much value in having a human being with their brain and their experience providing a strategy for you on top of whatever AI can deliver to you. So
Exactly. It's so true. It's so true. And just if anybody's written a book or is in the process of writing a book, like don't trust on throwing spaghetti at a wall and hope it sticks. Like there's a strategy and that works
call
every
Lauren.
single time.
She'll help
Call
you.
me. I'll figure it out. If I can't help you, I'll give you somebody who does. And I was talking about this, I think, just to wrap up that, I've been in the online creator space for a very long time, and it seems kind of strange to start a PR agency right after that. And I think one of the things that I saw was this big gap between the creator economy and PR.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I think our solution has come up with the perfect match to solve that gap. You know, we have the best publicists in the country, and then I serve as the liaison between the creators because I think like one and act like one. And I'm the author, and I've written 3 books, and I have 2 podcasts. And, PR can be a very outdated strategy. So we try to bridge that gap between creators and PR. And I kind of think of us as like disruptors in the PR world. And we're killing it. And I'm so proud of our team.
I love that. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Lauren, for joining me for these episodes. I really appreciate you and your time.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you so much for joining today's conversation with my guest, Lauren. I hope you're able to take all of the tips that she's implemented today and transform them into your own journey as well. Be sure to check out all of the links below for ways to connect with Lauren and myself. And let us know what you think of this episode by leaving a 5-star rating if you loved it and letting us know by sending us a message on Instagram. I love hearing from you, and I love hearing how these conversations impact you. So please reach out. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you on the next one.